Hey, everybody. Brad Linder back with you again tonight for the sketch card of the day. Running a little behind on this one because I couldn't get logged into Facebook. And the YouTube channel decided to fight with me because I was posting some new material. So, sorry about that. I apologize. Anyway, we're here now, and I'm going to switch this over to the channel real quick so everybody can see that wants to see, and we'll get right in on this. So, bear with me just a second. And there we go. Now, about got this going here. There it goes, finally. Okay, now, Michael Morbius is a student colleague of Spider-Man's, aka Peter Parker, and this guy got turned into a vampire in a lab experiment gone wrong, and I really, really dig this character and have a high-end compassion for the idea of something like that happening because I'm a huge fan of science and science fiction, and things like that could really happen. You know, you never know what you can do with DNA until it's already done in most cases. Now I'm going to start right in with his eyes here, and I'm going to tone these up because he's got this really weird fluid eye thing going on. And we're going to get them going like that. Now, I'm going to start right away with the hair, which I'm going to do a cool dark blue. I was going to do a lighter blue on this one, but I decided that the dark blue would look better in the hair because I didn't want it to look reminiscent of the 70s and 80s Superman type deal. And he has kind of a grunge look. So I wanted to make it more of a jet black rather than, with the blue or purple, rather than making it go all out funky with the shine of, a bright blue in there and making it look like it's daylight kind of things going on with the lighting. And it's not, because this is going to be darkened out, and then there's going to be a street light like back here right over this guy, and it's going to highlight him, and the rest of this up here will be dark. So we're going to silhouette that character out that way. But I really wanted to give this some depth and give it that traditional grunge look that Morbius actually had when he became a vampire, from being, underground and being greasy and nasty, that kind of thing. And I wanted it to look that way. If you ever saw the movie or series Bloodstone, there was a movie called Subspecies, and it had a character in it called I've forgotten his name. There was a vicious vampire in there, and it looks pretty much like this. And I've got that DVD set now. It's skipped my mind, so I've forgotten. But you can look it up. It's Bloodstone Subspecies, and those movies are vicious. I mean, they got a little lame later in years, because of the fact of effects changing and things like that. So they're not really up to par. But as far as this goes, that's what inspires me for vampires and things like that. Because when I was a kid, when that series came out, I was, I think, in my teens, maybe younger, and that vampire scared the bejesus out of me. I don't know. I love horror movies, but that one unnerved me for some reason. I mean, that dude, he was just evil, gooey, nasty. Yeah, I mean, he was just nasty, nasty, nasty. And it's not a movie for the kids, so don't, I mean, it was made, they were made through the 80s and 90s, so I believe it was the early 90s when they were made. They may have been made a little before that. But yeah, it's just watch yourself with that, because the content is not for kids. And like I said, that vampire, yeah, man, he unnerved me. I mean, I've seen some really cool stuff that kind of creeps me out, but that one is one that stuck with me because it's a childhood thing, and it grabbed my attention for sure. So um, that's one. When I think of a vampire, I want to be shocked like that. So when I see most vampire movies these days, with the CGI demon type of look, the big boxed head kind of thing, and the bad CGI or something like that, it doesn't faze me as it phases most people, because that really disturbed me. So, but in a good way though, because I really enjoy it, and it doesn't scare me as much as it makes me think of what's possible with that kind of thing. Because that was a very demon-based vampire rather than, I mean, we're talking subterranean dwelling demon rather than, romantic or romanticized vampire characters. So, I mean, he was all about sucking the blood and getting the stone for his immortality to make him be able to walk in the light and whatnot. And it's just gruesome. So, as you can tell, I have a lot of fun with it because it brings back a lot of memories. But yeah, it's just, that was a weird one for me. And Michael Morbius kind of reminds me of that. That kind of grueling vampire. And that's what I want to see when I look at movies, because I mean, I enjoyed the vampire series that I enjoyed the most was True Blood. I really enjoyed that one. Vampire Diaries, not so much. The Originals was a great series, but yeah, I mean, it was an odd thing, and that particular vampire kind of creeped me out. And because I wanted to say his name, now it's, I forgot. But whatever. Like I said, you guys can check it out. But Michael Morbius was a college student that got turned in. He wasn't truly a vampire, per se. He was more like a mutated leech. He was a humanoid leech because he had suckers in his hands and all kinds of weird stuff going on. And, he hardly ever bit anybody. He bit Spider-Man like 3 or 4 times. I know in the Todd McFarlane line of, what was it, Sub-City, he bit him twice and jacked him up. And for the most part, we don't have that problem. Hey, Brian. Glad you made it, buddy. Thanks for popping on. I know this thing's kind of late tonight, but been adding a bunch of content to the YouTube channel and getting a bunch of website stuff done because finally got some news on my websites. Google decided to crawl them today, so I'm very happy about that. That process has started, so they should be indexed by the weekend, I hope, and start showing up. I mean, they're there now, but it just depends on which one you go after to look at. But anyway, I'm going to go in here. Before I do the red here on the collar and get the fin and all that, and then do the bricks and stuff, I'm going to go ahead and shade in his face a little, because I just kind of wanted to give that lively look. Because like the Bizarro I did yesterday, he's got a really cool pasty skin color, but due to the recesses in the skin and everything, being almost self-decaying or self-mutating, there's a big deal going on with his skin that's different than most because of the fact that it, instead of going stone-like like Bizarro's did, and cracking, Michael's is kind of eating himself, from lack of blood and lack of vitamins and source energy. He's drawing and withering and getting nasty just like a vampire would. That's the reason they call him the living vampire. Let's see, I want to make sure that I get those blood spots. Leave those open. Go along the ridge of this mandible here. Make that really curve in. Go along this hairline. Give it some shadow. Right along the hair here. And there, cool deal. All right, now I want to put some more into these accents, but I want to watch out and not fill up all the blood spots because I want those to really pop out. And I have this really cool maroon color that I want to use for the blood on his face, so it offsets the look like it's been there a while, like he's wiped his mouth off but it's still on his chin. Put it in the corner of his mouth a little bit, color that tongue, and then we'll get these blood spots here. And the reason I'm using this maroon color is because it's the closest to a crimson for the pencils, but it comes out really well. So we've got that going on, and I want to offset that bright red from the Sharpie and differentiate from the glowing look from his eyes a little bit. So now that I've got that laid in, I'll go ahead and grab my dark gray here and go in and put in like the nasty stuff, like his lip here, make them nice and dark, like they have no life left in them. Very cool. Missed a little bit of that tongue back there, which again, he's been feeding, so we'll make that maroon. And then just on the underside of this hair, I'm going to put some of these shadows here, like that. Kind of to separate it a little. Right up underneath this nose and lip here, like that. Right up underneath the hard ridge of the brow. Make the eyes pop out a little more, like that. And put a little bit under the underside of these recesses, but I don't want to do too much here because I don't want it to wash out and just become one big gray blob. That would suck. So, and for the little kiddies, sorry, that's a technical term. Don't use that. So, anyway, now we got to go back and do this ear. Kind of add some color in there, just a little bit. Make that in the light there. So we're going to put a few hard spots on one side, just a little bit, not much. Dink, and done. Cool. Now we've got him all raised up and funky. So we got that going on. Now I'm going to go in with this really light brown for the brick here in the background, about right here. Okay. And I'm going to kind of fill these in a little bit. This is going to take a little bit of time, just a few minutes, because I'm going to fill these in just a little and leave some highlight edge to them. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to put in this funky little light wash, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back behind here, and then when I highlight it in just a moment, or actually shadow it out, it's going to give this nice silhouette of this dude hanging back here that he's been feeding on. And we're going to put in some maroon, like he's been feeding on his chest, which Morbious is notorious for grabbing people by the chest and putting his suckers on them and bleeding them dry, kind of thing. That's pretty much the deal there. and because he's going to be in this bright light in the street, and he's going to be a pale dude, you know, pasty punker kind of thing going on, we're going to give him this really cool pink shade. And just to contrast things, I'm going to make him have a little bit of a blue leather jacket back here, something like that going on. And just to break it up a little bit, I'm going to grab in this maroon here, and I'm going to put a couple of colored specks down here like it's been running down, because I don't want it to look like a Chippendales bow tie. That's just strange to me, the way that came out, and I don't know why I did that way, but whatever. Now we'll kind of map that out a little bit. So we can say he's a punker. Got the jacket going on. And give him the dark gray pants down here just to mute those out. Mute the belt. It's going to be dark back here. And I'll give him some funky purple hair, you know, green. I'll give him some green hair so it breaks up the color contrast. And anyway, we're going to go back to, oops, hope I didn't break it. Nope, I didn't chip it. Cool deal. I was afraid I was going to chip that lead. I'm going to go back in here and finish up these bricks real quick, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over it completely. Now I want this to look like a brace, so I'm going to put some gray in here to make this look like Metal Gear, and like he's got a winch set up kind of deal where he's chained up over his head. Make it kind of freaky. So putting some dark gray there. Make that look like old steel or chain or something like that. Holding him up over here where you can't see off the page. And excuse me. Anyway, going in now with this really cool dark brown. What did I do with the dark brown? Let me grab this fantastic dark brown here. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm just going to start about here. Like I said before, I'm just going to start right here because there's a heavy ridge, and we're going to do it this way. Kind of shade that in really good and hard. Leave that edge there. We're going to kind of shade this in. Shading in that wall there. Now, the reason we want to do that is because what it's going to look like is it's going to look like it's spotlighting him like a street light. So you can see him back there, and it's going to make it go boom, you know. That's a big one. So come in here with some of this orange and lighten some of this stuff up a little bit. This is going to be a really cool effect because it's going to make that brick look really warm and alive. And kind of put this orangey yellow overcoat over his skin. The reason we do that is because we make him pop out that way. And now I'm going to grab this really funky green. That way his hair stands out. Classic DC or Marvel style street punker kind of character going on. And I'm going to kind of take this dark gray now and shade this in just a little to make it a little lighter on the top. And now we have that guy in the background, so we know what's for dinner. Sorry, couldn't resist. And now we're going to come in here with the old Sharpie, and we're going to show out Morbius's worn, nasty red cape on his classic red and blue vampire costume, which I am a huge fan of, especially in McFarlane's burnt out sewer city sub-city storyline version, where he's all vamped out and like living on, you know, mice and stuff instead of human blood and whatever. And then Spider-Man crosses him, and that's when he comes out and ends up fighting him. Because it turned out in that storyline, Spider-Man thought that Michael had come up from hiding and was eating people, and it turned out to be someone else. So that kind of, pardon the pun, but that kind of sucks. And that's what we have there. Now the reason I'm trimming this out is because I want it to fit. And then I'm going to take my black and I'm going to go over these holes here, because this is all the collar, all ripped up. But I'm going to take my black pencil here in a minute and go in and add some shading details on these light spots to where we have the holes. And you guys will get those filled up. I'll show you an overlay technique that's really neat with the pencil. So that's going to be really cool. Okay, now we're going to go back in here, and don't do this with a gray because it'll ruin it. Do this with a black. All right, go in and do this with a black. Watch this, because if you do that with a gray, it won't hold up, and you'll lose all the definition out of that because it'll put a shiny gray over it, and the gray will shine instead of layering out black like this and muting the color. It'll add a funky gray overlay, and it'll be shiny and weird, and it won't make sense. So don't do that. Catching the edge of this trim, kind of darkening that up a little bit. Okay. We've about got this. Trust the process. Okay. Put this one like it folded in. Put this underneath. Just a little bit like that. And giving all these cool little shadows here without wiping out the richness of the red in the process. You can still see it through it because it's pencil. So we have all that going on, and I can do one more step with this, but I don't want to do this too much, but I'll give you an idea. You can go in on one side and make it darker like that. And if you really, you know, want to give it that jet black look, add a little black in there to kind of differentiate. But be very careful that you don't go make it look, you know, salt and pepper, because that'll make it look weird. You know, if you make it look like it's blue, white, and gray, it'll make it look strange if you stripe it too hard. So be careful not to do that, because that'll break away from the shadowing effect. You just want to put it in the dark spots. And you don't want to do it with every strand either. You just want to put it in the dark spaces and keep it simple, because it's going to hit with more light in other places a little bit easier. So, I mean, if you can get it in there, cool deal. If not, don't force it. You'll break it. It's like pieces to a puzzle. If they don't really fit, don't use them. So, I see that all the time. People want to force stuff, and it's just, don't do that. Because then it doesn't contrast, it washes out, and it'll end up muting it, and you don't want that. See, that's cool. That makes it pop out just a little bit more, we have that going on. Now, just to make this have a core to it, a nasty, gnarly little core, I'm going to go in here and kind of add a deeper red with this Sharpie right around the contrasting shadow. Just a little, because what it gives it is that fresh, live blood look. And if you want to take it a step further, don't do it with a white, do it with an orange. Check this out. Right in here, in that light spot, you can go in and put just a little touch of orange right through the white. That way it has a tint to it and not a true white pop off, and it'll make it come out clean. And if you want, keep it clean because you don't want to do too much, but give it a light brush with the pencil right there, and you can bring those teeth together as well. Give them that touch of off-white bone look so they won't look all weird with it. Now I'm giving this collar here in these deep spots, like in this ridge, and then on this side of the collar, I'm kind of giving a little bit of the blue, just a little bit of a kick to make that work. And then we're going to call it a day and leave that done because I don't want to wash it out because that's looking a little dark anyway. However, that piece underneath would be dark. So there we go. We have Michael Morbious. Hope you guys dig it, and we will have another one tomorrow, hopefully during the daylight hours. And thanks for hanging out with me. You know how this works. As always, we've got this rock for a little bit amount of time. Limited. Party is ticking on. So let's have fun while we're here, but remember to leave it better for the next generation, because whatever we spend today, they don't have to spend tomorrow. So keep it up. Do the right thing. Don't burn it. Enjoy the planet. Talk to you tomorrow.